So I think it's safe to say that Michigan's 2024 offensive performance was a bit sus, shall we say. They ranked near the bottom of college football last year in a few different statistical categories, so it begs the question, is the offense going to be any better in 2025, and how does it stack up against this year's competition? I figured we'd get into that, but before we do, this is the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. We are not experts, which I had to remind somebody in the comment section, but I thought, actually, to his credit, Va Hunter 40, he might not have been around the channel for very long because, as it happens, 528 of you have subscribed within the last 28 days. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It really does mean a lot. If you don't mind, maybe clicking the like button, possibly even subscribing if you're not already, that would just be awesome. But yeah, in case you're new here and you don't know, we're not experts. We're not insiders. We have access to the same news that you have. We just like to talk about it. And that's what we're doing here on this channel. So, with respect, Va Hunter 40, if this isn't your type of thing, totally cool, man. Totally cool. Wanted to talk 2025 Michigan offensive depth chart, starters, that kind of thing. But to understand exactly how much better we'd like the offense to be, we need to first understand how bad the 2024 offense was. So I pulled up some stats here. Now, offensively speaking, points per game, they scored 22. That ranked 113th nationally. Total yards per game, 278.4, which was dead last in the Big Ten Conference. Passing yards per game, 121. Rushing yards per game, 157. It's actually not awful. Top contributors, obviously, Davis Warren, because he played the most games, or at least got benched the least last season, with 1,200 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, but boy, oh boy, 9 interceptions, and a third of those coming against Arkansas State. Running back Kalel Mullings, 948 yards, 12 touchdowns. I love how Michigan has a bad season and yet still almost puts up a 1,000-yard rusher. Tight end Colston Loveland, obviously he's the star of the team, 582 yards, 5 touchdowns. Honestly, not anything to write home about, but still he was a really good presence for the offense, at least a very good stability factor for the offense. But he is gone, and a lot of those players are gone. Kalel Mullings is gone. Davis Warren is actually back, which is great. I like Davis Warren. I understand he wasn't the quarterback we were hoping for, but I will have absolutely zero Davis Warren hate in my comments section. The guy walked into Columbus and beat Ohio State. Build the statue. So I want to do a position-by-position breakdown of the offense to kind of get a feel for what we can expect from this year's Michigan offense. But first, I want to go over this lovely visual we have here from a website I've never heard of before, but this is just a great name. MGO Fish Recruiting Coverage. I love it because we're fishing for recruits, I guess. I don't know, but I love it. I think it's great. This website put out their offensive starters, predicted offensive starters, and so I thought this would be a great visual to have because, to be totally honest, this is my offensive starting prediction as well. So, starting with the offensive line, you have Evan Link at left tackle. That left tackle position we're going to get into just a little bit. That is a position of concern for Michigan right now. Evan Link being a redshirt sophomore, taking over at that position, not exactly confidence building, but Evan Link has done interviews lately where he described how much better the offensive line is gelling now that they fully understand just what they need to do to be as good as that 2023 offensive line. Up next, left guard, Giovanni El Hadi. Center, Greg Crippen. Right guard, Nathan Ifobi. Right tackle, Andrew Sprague. At the skill positions, you have none other than Bryce Underwood at quarterback. You have Ben Bredesen at Max Bredesen, excuse me. Ben Bredesen was a long time ago. Max Bredesen at fullback. You've got Justice Haynes starting at running back, and then Marlon Klein starting at tight end. For the wide receivers, you've got Donovan McCulley as wide receiver 1. You've got Frederick Moore and Samaj Morgan rounding out the receivers there. So a little bit of experience coming back actually for the wide receivers. And then Donovan McCulley obviously coming in from Indiana, which, they had a pretty good season on offense. I think McCulley was, if I remember correctly, he was actually injured for a little bit of it. But in any case, that is your predicted offensive starters. Now, for a position-by-position breakdown, let's go over this real quick. So in 2024, at quarterback, you obviously had Davis Warren starting the most games, or at least getting benched the least. In 2025, everyone's saying it. It would be shocking if Bryce Underwood weren't the starter on day one. A lot of people have said that Mikey Keene will probably get the start day one, but against New Mexico. But do we really want that to happen with the quarterback position? Do we want, because that's kind of what happened last year. Alex Orji gets the start, or I'm sorry, Davis Warren gets the start, then he gets benched for Alex Orji. Then Alex Orji gets benched for Jack Tuttle, who then gets benched for Davis Warren. So not saying that that's exactly the same type of situation here, because I think Bryce Underwood and Mikey Keene are two quarterbacks that are vastly different from what we had last year. Bryce Underwood being a freshman phenom that everybody is raving about. Mikey Keene transferring from Fresno State, having a lot of experience, but not exactly a quarterback that's going to, light your world on fire. Jaden Davis, unfortunately, seems to have fallen off. He's sitting there at third string, and then you've got Davis Warren, who hopefully will be coming back from injury, who is sitting there at the fourth string. I think it's great that Davis Warren is coming back, honestly. I mean, even if he wasn't the quarterback that we all wanted right after J.J. McCarthy, or at least his performance was, and I'm absolutely certain that nobody in this world is as upset with the way last season went as Davis Warren, as everybody who's coming back from that team. They all want to be better. Having that experience actually from Davis Warren is actually, I would argue, a pretty good thing, even if he didn't perform the way that Michigan needed last year to be totally successful. I think having that perspective from Davis Warren will really help somebody like a Bryce Underwood, possibly even help a Mikey Keene, who maybe hasn't necessarily seen the type of competition at Fresno State that he will at Michigan. If Mikey Keene even, really plays all that much, he might be cleanup duty for Bryce Underwood, or Bryce Underwood might need a little bit of time to adjust, and Mikey Keene gets the start against New Mexico. I don't think that they should do that. But either way, Michigan's quarterback room in 2025 does seem to be a lot deeper and far more dynamic. Bryce Underwood himself is drawing comparisons to Cam Newton and Vince Young, which, no pressure, I guess. As for running back, 2024 leaders, you had Mullings pulling in 948 yards. Donovan Edwards, God love him, kid kind of fell off in 2024. I don't know what was going on with that. It just didn't seem like he really had the vision that he had in 2023 or 2022. Frankly, in 23, he didn't exactly have, the best season ever. So kind of curious what was going on there. I wonder if maybe he was getting into his own head a little bit. But either way, both of them are in the NFL now. I know Edwards, I believe, went undrafted but signed with the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. And then Khalil Mullings, I actually can't remember off the top of my head where he went. In terms of 2025, though, we've brought in Justice Haynes, the Alabama transfer. Didn't necessarily get a ton of touches at Alabama, but the touches he did get were fairly high quality. He was a 5-star recruit for Alabama, so definitely bringing in some really good raw talent there. And then obviously playing for a school like Alabama is going to give you a decent perspective of the football field. So I can't imagine that he's just going to come in and be a lot of unrealized potential, basically. I think that he's already got a lot of experience that is really going to help Michigan at that particular position, especially since, Evan Link and El Hadi. I think it's more going to be on Evan Link to make sure that the left side of this line stays intact. But if Evan Link has some issues with that, maybe the running back and even quarterback can help kind of correct that situation so that, if the left side of the line doesn't hold up, the running back is good enough to maybe shake and bake, get some more yards out of a bad situation, or at least get something positive going there. So I look forward to seeing Justice Haynes play some football for Michigan. And then, of course, you've got Jordan Marshall, who absolutely went off in the Alabama game at the ReliaQuest Bowl. He played extremely well in that game. And then Benjamin Hall rounding out that room. Per GBM Wolverine, Justice Haynes actually averaged 5.9 yards per carry at Alabama And then obviously Marshall broke out at the ReliaQuest Bowl. So we've got some really good options at running back. I don't think that the running back room is really going to fall off at all, especially not compared to like last year. Although I think last year was more just a offensive cohesion situation than it was really any particular position group being of poor quality, except for, and I don't mean any disrespect, but the quarterback position. Coming into the offensive line, the 2024 line being Greg Crippen, Giovanni El Hadi, Josh Preeb, Evan Link, and Andrew Gentry. For 2025, you have Andrew Sprague, Blake Frazier, I believe is his name. Greg Crippen's back, Giovanni El Hadi, Evan Link. Maize and Blue Review notes that Michigan has 7 solid contributors and is seeking depth beyond that core. And like I mentioned, the offensive line does have that key concern at the left tackle position. So right now, Evan Link is going to be the starter. He's a redshirt sophomore. His backup is Brady Norton, also a redshirt sophomore. He's a transfer from the FCS level. So maybe a little bit of experience there, but definitely not against the competition that they're going to be seeing at Michigan. The only concern is that Evan Link allowed 19 pressures in 6 games in 2024. That's kind of a lot. Brady Norton himself is promising, but he's not proven yet at the Power 5 level. So again, he hasn't seen that competition yet that he did, or that he probably will at Michigan. So there's no clear elite blindside protector just yet for Bryce Underwood, which is a critical issue for a freshman quarterback. But that being said, despite the fact that this might be a position of concern for Michigan, there is something there. There is still just a tad bit of experience, and there also is a lot of unproven potential. So if, Sharon Moore can get that offensive line figured out, I think that they'll be just fine. But the thing is with the Justice Haynes, with the Bryce Underwood, they've got the mobility and they've got the vision to potentially make a good situation out of something bad should the blindside tackle fail to get a solid block. I do think that that's something of concern to watch for Michigan's offense. Do they start to kind of run more towards the right side, or do they get Bryce Underwood out in play action? I honestly think that given what I understand of Chip Lindsey's offense, that Bryce Underwood is going to be in a lot of play action situations anyway, just to get him outside the pocket, get him, a clearer view of what's going on downfield. I do expect that to be kind of a thing. Just quickly touching on this right tackle situation, Andrew Sprague right now is a redshirt freshman, and then back up to him is Andrew Babaloa. He's a true freshman, but he is a 5-star recruit, and boy, oh boy, we've heard some really good things about him. Sprague has size and upside, but has limited game reps. Obviously, the same thing with Babaloa. He's elite, but he is brand new, so definitely going to need some help there, or at least some development. For the interior line, left guard, center, right guard. At left guard, you have Giovanni El Hadi. He's a veteran. He's reliable. He's shifted from right guard to left guard, so he can help bolster up the left side of that line there. Center, Greg Crippen. He's experienced. He's been here a while. Pretty good there. Right guard, you've got Nathan Ifobi. He's athletic, but had kind of an inconsistent 2024. That being said, we've got some good news about this from Coach Grant Newsome. So he has praised Giovanni El Hadi's leadership and said that the line could be scary good if it gels. So there is, from what we understand, there is a lot of upside for Michigan's offensive line. We just need them to be proven. And maybe they take that New Mexico game and it's not necessarily the best game. Maybe it's not, the high-flying offense that we were kind of expecting from Chip Lindsey, although I shouldn't say necessarily a super high-flying offense, but something that maybe resembles more of his offenses at like UNC or UCF. But that being said, I think that it'll be a good game for them to kind of get their feet wet, start to figure things out. The only thing that I think is kind of detrimental here, though, is the fact that they then go to Norman, Oklahoma to play Oklahoma, who bring in a decent defense, although I have some thoughts about that. So no doubt Oklahoma will probably be attacking the left side of that offensive line. What does that do to Bryce Underwood? Does that get him under more pressure? And then with it being a road game, does he start to falter a little bit? that could be an area of concern. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But maybe that's how Michigan loses that game, is that Bryce Underwood isn't given the time that he needs to look downfield, or the running game doesn't get going because the left side of the line continues to collapse. We'll see what happens. I think that you might see a lot of runs to the outside, to the right from Michigan during that game, but who knows? We'll see what happens. For wide receiver, you've got Donovan McCulley, Anthony Simpson, Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore, and Peyton O'Leary, who had that huge third down catch against Ohio State, which was just freaking awesome. McCulley and Simpson bring in number one receiver potential if healthy. And that's the biggest thing there, is that McCulley, I believe he was from UMass, picked up something like 750 yards receiving at UMass, but then had some issues with injury, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Anthony Simpson. Yep. Donovan McCulley, I think, also had some issues with injury. I got to look that up real quick to remember. I don't want to give bad information, or I might get told to delete the channel again. Donovan McCulley, if he remains healthy, he has number one potential. Yep. Okay. So McCulley and Simpson have each been productive when healthy, but neither played very much in 2024 after early injuries before deciding to enter the portal. As of right now, both players are healthy. Samaj Morgan also needs to have a bounce back year, and with Chip Lindsey at the helm, that seems likely to occur. So some good news there for sure. Now, tight end, obviously Michigan had tight end under wraps last year with Colson Loveland. This year, they've got Marlon Klein, Hogan Hansen, and Max Bredesen. Marlon Klein's good. He's got the size. He's got potential. It's all there. We just need some experience. Now, with all of this being said, how does Michigan shape up against other teams? Now, we're going to go a little bit long here on this video. Hopefully that's okay. I don't think we mind going a little bit longer talking some football, but let's do it. Let's see what we've got here. So in terms of position groups for the opponents this year, how does Michigan stack up against who they're playing? So against New Mexico, obviously Michigan's offense has the edge here. And why is that? Because New Mexico ranked near the bottom nationally in offensive efficiency last year and is undergoing a complete rebuild. Ironic, but true. Michigan, despite its own offensive struggles, has significantly more talent and upside with Bryce Underwood and a revamped receiving core. And I think that's going to be a common theme here as we move through Michigan's season, is that there is a lot of upside. They just need to prove it. For Oklahoma, the edge goes to Oklahoma. They've got the better offense right now. And the reason is because the Sooners bring in quarterback John Mateer and OC Ben Arbuckle from Washington State, forming a proven air raid duo. With weapons like Jaden Ott and Deion Burks, Oklahoma's offense should be fairly explosive. Now, Michigan's offense is improving, but likely not as dynamic early in the season. And that's probably going to be mostly because of the offensive line figuring out how to gel in these early games. So against that Oklahoma team with a really good offense like that, with all those offensive potential weapons and all that, what you really want to see is a fast start from Michigan's defense. If Michigan's defense can keep them in this game late and Michigan's offense doesn't spiral, I do think that you see Michigan's talent start to take over, talent edge versus Oklahoma start to take over, because I don't think that Oklahoma necessarily has that great of a defense. It might be decent. I don't know that it's enough to keep up with Michigan, should Michigan be firing on all cylinders. Central Michigan, obviously Michigan's got the edge here. CMU is rebuilding under a new staff and lacks a proven quarterback and offensive line depth. Michigan's talent advantage is substantial, especially in the trenches and basically at all skill positions. Against Nebraska, bit of a toss-up with a slight lean towards Michigan having the advantage here. Nebraska has very high upside in QB Dylan Raiola and added wide receiver Dane Key at the O-line, but Michigan's defense definitely could neutralize their attack. I mean, again, this is a Nebraska offense that has to go up against a defense that could be even better than in 2024. And if obviously we all remember that in 2024, the problem, as I've said a million times at this point, was never the defense. I mean, they took time to gel. There were some games, I mean, Oregon and Texas, you probably weren't going to win those games anyway, but obviously the defenses didn't exactly have good games there. Once they figured it out, I mean, you saw against Northwestern. I mean, wow. Then you saw it against Ohio State. Ohio State's best offense ever couldn't score a point in the second half against this Michigan defense, and a lot of them are coming back. So Michigan's defense might be even better, might be even more experienced. Michigan's offense may be more balanced and less reliant on a single player this year, and you're going to see that likely with Bryce Underwood throwing it around the field a little bit more on this Nebraska defense. Can Nebraska's secondary keep Michigan's offense in check? That's really going to be the question here. It depends on whether or not Michigan can play some complementary football against Nebraska's quarterback Dylan Raiola, who does have, he's a good quarterback. He really is. Against Wisconsin, Michigan's got the edge. Oh, I'm at 20 minutes already. I better wrap it up. Against Wisconsin, Michigan's got the edge. Wisconsin is transitioning offensively and just lacks the firepower. USC's kind of got the edge here. So Lincoln Riley's offenses are usually pretty good. Miller Moss last year, I mean, he's transferred out. Last year they didn't exactly have the season that they wanted for sure. But even with some turnover, USC still has the scheming and the talent to challenge Michigan's defense, especially because Michigan's offense may still be developing midseason. So if D'Anton Lynn takes USC's defense to another level, gets them even better than they were last year, I understand and definitely hope that Michigan's offense will be better this year, especially by the time they hit the USC game. Will they be firing on all cylinders? If not, D'Anton Lynn might have that USC defense good enough to keep Michigan's offense in check, and then it becomes a game of whose defense can keep the other team's offense off the field. Or rather, whose offense can keep the other team's offense off the field. And if USC wins that battle early, does that wear down Michigan's defense early and then force Michigan to have to play come back in the second half? That's kind of the question I'm seeing with that game. With Washington, they're losing a lot of offensive production. Michigan has the edge there. Against Michigan State, they're recovering from a really bad 2024. Jonathan Smith's first season. They've done some really good things with recruiting, but I still don't think the talent is there. So Michigan's talent and coaching upgrades should definitely shine here. I expect Michigan to win that one by a lot. Against Purdue, they're inconsistent. They don't have the depth to keep up with Michigan, so Michigan's going to control that game. Northwestern, man, I got a soft spot in my heart for Northwestern. I really do, but Michigan's going to wipe the floor with them again this year. The defense is just going to be way too good. There's too much rebuilding that's going on with Northwestern's offense, so I definitely think that that's not going to be a close game. Against Maryland, Michigan has the experience here, or has the edge here. Maryland lost some key offensive pieces and is in transition yet again, and just with the fact that Michigan's offensive ceiling is higher, especially this late in the season, I don't think Maryland's going to be able to keep up with them. That being said, this is the week before the Ohio State game, and weaker Maryland teams have taken good Michigan teams down to the fourth quarter because Michigan gets caught looking ahead to Ohio State. Speaking of Ohio State, who has the better offense? Right now, the pundits are saying it's probably Ohio State. But why is that? You have to look at the fact that Ohio State has incredible talent at the skill positions. Now, some people are saying that they have a strong QB room. I have yet to see it. The reason being is because when you compare Michigan's quarterback room to Ohio State's, who do I think is better? I do think it's Michigan. And you'll any Ohio State fan will hear me say that and go, how could you possibly say something like that? It's the exact same situation where you've got an unproven young quarterback and then a backup who, they have experience, but are they any good? And the thing with Ohio State is that we know what their backups are like, and they haven't performed very well. Lincoln Kienholz didn't really perform that well. So we know what we're getting with him. With Julian Sayin, what are we getting with him? It's no doubt that he has a massive upside, but a lot of what we've heard out of Ohio State camp is that he's been inconsistent. Whereas a lot of what we've heard out of Michigan camp is that basically Bryce Underwood can do no wrong. and that's not even just that the coaches are saying that. That's a lot of journalists and pundits that are saying Bryce Underwood is really mature. I mean, yeah, he's got the talent, he's got the physicality, he's got the build, he's got the speed, he's got the intelligence and all that, but also the fact that he is more mature beyond his years, whatever. So who do I give the edge to at the quarterback position? It's Michigan. Who do I give the edge to at every other position group? I think offensive line is kind of a toss-up because Michigan's defenses have been very good at stifling Ohio State's offensive line. But in terms of skill positions, it's Ohio State. But we know that. Ohio State has always had what you could argue are better skill position talent than Michigan. Where has that gotten them these last 4 years? I mean, yeah, it got them a national title, but it's also gotten them 0-4 against Michigan. And great for them with that national title. But can they beat Michigan again this year? I mean, the game is in Ann Arbor. Michigan's defense is going to be even better with an unproven quarterback at Ohio State. I think Michigan takes the game. What does Michigan have to worry about with Ohio State, though? I mean, linebackers for Ohio State, Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, they're really good. They're very good. They're coming back. What can Michigan exploit? Interior defensive line depth. So after losing Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton, OSU's defensive tackle rotation is talented but unproven, and Michigan's run game could test their stamina provided Evan Link and Giovanni El Hadi can hold up that left side of the line. So Michigan, they're looking good. I'm really excited about what we've got coming into this year. In terms of what Chip Lindsey brings to the situation, balanced attack. Lindsey blends air raid concepts with power run schemes, adapting to personnel strength. At UNC, his offense has averaged over 190 yards passing and over 190 rushing yards and nearly 300 yards passing. That's why I think that given the situation with the offensive line, with the fact that Evan Link and Giovanni El Hadi are trying to hold up the left side of that line, I don't have a problem with El Hadi. Evan Link is the one that we need to see do better than 2024. If he does fine, then great. This whole thing can be more balanced, and Michigan can have a more holistic offensive presence. They can run things to the left, run things to the right, run things up the middle, and have all the confidence they need in the offensive line. But if you start to see Evan Link kind of falter a little bit, or maybe Andrew Sprague kind of falter a little bit, since he doesn't have a ton of experience either. I got to double check that before so Andrew Sprague obviously has a lot of size and upside there, but if the offensive line can't really gel, I think you're going to see Bryce Underwood take off with his legs quite a bit too. So this is where Chip Lindsey can really shine in terms of scheme, because he can scheme Underwood out of the pocket, either left or right. It doesn't matter, because if both sides are caving in, then just whichever way you want to go, just get out of the pocket. And so I think you'll see a lot of play action pass. And because of that, I think you'll also see Bryce Underwood take off and run quite a bit too. So with that being said, is Michigan's offense going to be a lot more balanced than last year? I think so. I think you're going to see Michigan throw a lot more, possibly out of necessity. The question is, can Bryce Underwood keep himself calm while he's doing so? And I'm going to leave it right there. I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think of this starting prediction for Michigan's offense? Do you think, are they going to be better than last year? They can't be much worse, right? What do you think about the offensive line situation? What do you expect to see from Michigan's offense from a scheme standpoint this season? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section. If you don't mind hitting the like button, maybe even subscribing, that would be totally awesome. Don't forget, we do go live Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Come and join us in the chat, and we'll see you in the next video.